guys, so today I think it's about time that I finally show you guys how I made Molten Freddy. One character, he's been in many videos throughout the past year or so, past I guess 7 or 8 months. He's been here for a while, and even though he may look simple, it may be kind of self-explanatory, I'm going to show you how to make him. Now, you probably know what I used to make him, but I'm going to show you how. Because not everyone is, artistic, not everyone knows how to make things. So I'm going to show you guys how you can do it with minimal sewing, or you could do it without sewing. I'll show you guys right now. So let's get into it. So, to make this plush, I'm going to start off with the two most basic things that you're going to need. One may be pretty obvious. You'll need Ennard. And 2, you'll need a Funtime Freddy. So yeah, those are pretty obvious. I think most people could figure that out without just, with just looking at him. But going past that, I'm going to go into the more detailed things you might need. So here are the markers I used for Molten Freddy. The reason, if you're wondering, so first I'm going to start off, obviously, we'll just need black. I'll explain that in a second. We need silver. We need kind of a gold color, or kind of goldish brown. And then we need red, and then we need 3 different types of orange. So the reason I have these 3 oranges is because if you look, all of them are kind of different. They all kind of look like a different shade of orange. Let me focus the camera. They're all kind of a different color. And that's why I have 3 here, is because I want to demonstrate how easily it can be to vary between colors, and how you might want to make sure that you have 3 that are kind of a good color, a good balance. After the markers, the next thing you're going to want to make sure that you have is needles and thread. So I just get a pack of needles like this. As you can see, it just comes with a bunch of different shapes and sizes of needles. They're different lengths and they're different widths, so they are thinner or thicker. Some of them are easier to thread than other ones. But then the only kind of thread you're going to need for this plush is white. I recommend just using white or gray, because the only time you're going to be sewing is when you switch the heads. So you want to make sure it's white so that it blends into Molten Freddy's head. So yeah, those are pretty obvious. Next up is fabric. There's only 2 different pieces of fabric that you will need for this plush. It is a tiny bit of orange. You'll need even less of this orange, honestly. I just grabbed a big enough piece just in case I mess something up. And then you will need black. So I'll explain why I needed the black in a second. So let's get to the rest of the stuff. The other thing you will need is a hot glue gun. This is the one I have, if you want to look at that. Sorry, mine looks kind of gross. It has lots of stuff stuck to it, lots of different fabrics and everything, because I set it on the table when there's scraps there, and then it gets glued on. So this is my hot glue gun. It's a very strong glue gun. I also recommend having a plate that no one uses, if you have a plate, because you might want to put your glue gun on that while you're not using it, so that you don't burn the table. And then last of all, obviously, you're gonna need glue sticks. So I just use these. It comes with a pack of 24. That is the company and everything, if you want to get the same ones as me. These are nice. These are useful. They come in big amounts, and they're very long, and they last a long time. So if you have this nice glue gun, it gets very hot. By the way, have your parents help you with these, because you don't want to burn yourself. I've burnt myself many times. I have scars all over my hands. Also, there's marker on my hands from a plush I made earlier, guys, so sorry about that. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you guys how we actually make it. So, first, I would recommend just starting with your Ennard plush here. To get the head off, you want to get your scissors, and you want to find a place where the thread is sticking out, where you can kind of see the thread. You see in this little bit here, you can see the thread. So what you want to do, I recommend getting a pencil of sorts. Here's my Pokemon pencil. And you want to slip your pencil, if you can, underneath one of the pieces of thread. It's kind of hard sometimes. It's like hooking underneath it. Okay, there we go. We kind of got it hooked there. So as you can see, you might want to just push your pencil in there. And then you want to stick your scissors in here. And then you just want to clip. If you can see, I'm just clipping that little piece of thread. There we go. So I didn't actually cut the plush. I just cut the thread that's holding the head on. So then you want to just go all the way around the head, cutting off all of the thread, so that you are detaching the head from the body. So I'm probably going to speed this process up so you guys can see it. But yeah. So now we have our entered head, so we're not going to need that now. We're only going to need this for this plush. So now we've got the entered body. Entered body, pretty self-explanatory. As you can see from my Molten Freddy, this is the exact same body, just with some modifications. So let's go ahead. I recommend pulling out the little pieces of thread here that are kind of loose. They're kind of it just makes it look scraggly. So I would take those out, and if they don't come out very well, just cut them. Just slice those off, like that, and then just cut the ones around the arms. So one thing to mention is the arms are connected by the same thread as the head was. So the arms might start to come apart, but I've got a solution for that. But first, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to modify this Funtime Freddy head because I do not recommend that we work on this yet, and I'll explain why. You can cut the head off that first, but I recommend we do the rest on Funtime Freddy, and then we get back to the entered body. So I'll explain why. So here we've got our Funtime Freddy head. As you can see, it's going to be about exactly the same as that head once we color it. So first, I recommend cutting off Bonbon, because if Bonbon is there when you're trying to color the head, he might get into the, he might get bumped into the color, and he might smear it around. So you don't want anything that might smear the color. This is very precise, so you don't want to smear anything. So let's just start with the eyes. So this is what I would do. You get your black marker, all right, and the first eye I would start with is the one over here, because this one is just completely black. So just color over the pupil. Pretty easy. Make sure there's no color showing. And then what's helpful about a Funtime Freddy plush is that there is a little layer of black already around the eye. So you will not get it onto the pink of the eye unless you're really, really not careful. So let's just be careful that we don't smudge it onto the pink of the eye. So far looking good. Does not take very long. I recommend having a fairly new marker when you do this because it'll be pointier and it'll get into small spaces easily. So there we go. There's Funtime Freddy's eye is colored. Now, literally, for the other eye, just do the exact same thing because this one is going to have the orange over it anyway. So let's just go ahead, color over that, color in here. All right. Alright, so as you can see here, we've got a terrifying Funtime Freddy with completely black eyes. So this may be the only time you'll need the black marker, so unless you want to do other things. But for now, that's the only thing you'll need. Now, one thing that you could do is when you put the orange eye in, you could color the pupil orange, but I feel like it's better if you just cut it out of fabric. So let's start doing the nose and the cheeks and everything else. So you're probably wondering why I have the orange marker. So if you look at mine, you can see that his muzzle and around his eyes and everything is red, and it's not orange. But the reason I have orange is because, let's test it on the stomach. When you put this on here, it looks orange, but then after a while, it starts to turn red. So let me grab a darker orange. See, that darker orange, it almost looks red when it's mixed with the pink. So I would recommend a dark orange. You could do the red, and that's what I'm going to try to do here today, because I don't think I used red for mine. As you can see here, it just kind of looks very, very red, and Molten Freddy isn't that dark. But that's what I'm going to use today, because I'll show you guys that it can work either way. So let's start by doing the around the eyes, because the muzzle will be last, and the reason that the muzzle will be last is because it is the biggest, and you don't want to smudge it around while you're doing the other ones. So just like paint, this stuff dries, and you have to wait for it to dry before you can start messing with it. It usually only takes a couple minutes for it to dry, unlike paint, which could take hours. But I do recommend waiting because you don't want to smudge this around. Some of my custom plushies, like specifically the green Phantom ones and everything, they got a little smudged, and let's just say it doesn't look good for other plushies. So I'm going to color around the eyes. Be very careful. As you can see, this is a very pointy marker. You just got to make sure that you do not get it onto the white. You might not want to try to do it at the very edge. If you notice, I did not do it at the very edge. There's still a little pink around the edge, but you can't even tell because it's so subtle. So do not do it at the very edge. Always stay near the black when you're doing around the eyes on a Funtime Freddy. That's what I've learned. And then let's get the last part there. Almost. There we go. So there we've got one completely red covered eye. Now let me just go ahead and do the other one, and then we will cut back to the video. Alright, so there we have a Funtime Freddy with two completely black and then red bordered eyes. So, but we're not done here. The red marker is going to be useful for more. So let's go on to the ears now. I would recommend doing the ears next because they're out of the way again, and you probably will not smudge them. And if you had done the cheeks first, you would be rubbing your hand in it and it would smudge around. So let's do the ears. I recommend pulling the ear back because a lot of the ear is covered by the rest of the head. See, when you pull it back, there's a lot more color. So I recommend pulling it back and getting as much as you can in there. Because even if it smudges onto the white, it's going to be over. It won't matter. You won't see it. So with this, you want to go around the border first and cover the middle. You want to go back and forth, not one way, because when you move, like if I go like that, but then I move it that way, you see it's still purple underneath. You want to go back and forth. Now I recommend doing little strokes, not big strokes, because you might accidentally smudge onto the white and that will not look good. So let me just do the border here. I don't think I'm going to cut this clip because this is a little bit more different. There we go. Now, if you still see a little bit of the purple, I wouldn't recommend doing anything about it. You can also just move the marker slower, which will spread the ink more. So yeah, there you've got one red ear. You can tell it still looks kind of purple, so you might just want to go over the entire thing one more time. As you can see, I smudged there, but the ear still folds forward and you can't really see the smudge. So yeah, let's do the other ear now. Not really too much to say. So as you can see here, our Molten Freddy now has red on the inside of his ears, just like my other one. So they're looking pretty similar so far. Now I've just got to do the cheeks and the muzzle, and then we've got to add the teeth. So first, I think first, honestly, the cheeks is the easiest, so let's just do the cheeks first. Pretty much the same as the ears. You just kind of go around the border. I recommend having multiple of the same marker, because sometimes it starts to run out of ink. The ink comes back later on. There's just little gaps in the ink where it does not have it. So there's one red cheek, or kind of molten color, ironically. I guess not ironically, because it's probably the point of the color. I'm just going to shut up now. So let's just go around the edge a couple times. Sharpie really works magic, guys. If you really want to do these, I really recommend Sharpie because it'll stay on there the longest. So yeah, now we have to do the muzzle. So the muzzle is always the part I'm most afraid to do, mainly just because it's very precise. It's right near the eyes, and I don't like smudging it. So I recommend pulling the muzzle down and then doing a line right across the very edge. Because if you pull the muzzle down just like the ears, it exposes more of it. And then when you pull the muzzle back up, which I'm about to do, it does not show any pink on there, and then you have room to just color the rest of it. So again, I would recommend going around the edges first, which is always the smartest thing to do, because you will then, if you're careful on the edge and you don't smudge the edge, then you don't have to worry about smudging the rest of it, because you will not be near the edge at all. So there's one edge done. In the creases, I recommend coloring in the creases just to cover up any of the color on the inside of the creases there. This is a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's okay if you smudge along here. It's okay if you smudge along his mouth, because there's going to be a black line there anyway, so I'll explain later when we do that. So I'm going to do this, and I'll get back to you guys once it's done. Alright guys, so now you can see his muzzle is completely covered. Everything is red that it needs to be, so you will not need the red marker as of now. So you can go ahead and put that away. So now we have the head. It's almost done. Next thing I would recommend doing is cut a little piece of orange, fold it in half, and then make a circle. It's okay if your circle looks a little bit stupid like that, because then you have a small piece you can just modify into the perfect circle. Oh, I dropped it. The perfect circle for his eye. So the eye, it doesn't have to be very big. It just has to be big enough to cover the original eye, which I think that looks pretty good. It's a little bit ovular, but you know what? I think it works. So put the eye there. All you need is a smidge of hot glue, maybe about that much, and then just lightly put it onto the eye. And then you might want to move it around a little bit just so the hot glue spreads. I'm going to turn mine. There we go. And I think that looks pretty good, honestly. So now we need to add the teeth, obviously, for the next part. What I would recommend for the teeth, if I were you guys, I would cut off Funtime Freddy's bow tie here. We'll save that for later. There we go. And then I just pull the string out because this is going to be in the way for the teeth. So let me get that off. So there you can see we've got a completely plain Freddy now. No bonbon, nothing. For the marker, you first want to get black. Let me make sure that you have a pointy black. That's fairly pointy. I'd say that would work. So this part is always kind of tedious. I always, when I was making my Molten Freddy, I got very nervous when I was making this because if you smudge this once, it's going to look messed up. So if I mess this up, guys, just know that it's easy to mess up, so just be very careful. So what I would do, I would say choose how far down you want the teeth to go. I'm going to look at mine for reference here. Mine went to about here. I'm going to put a little dot there. So now you need to start drawing a line. I would draw it parallel to the top jaw, or to the muzzle. It's kind of hard to find a good angle to do this. I'm going to put my hand on the muzzle, even if my hand gets dirty. Whatever. So then you want to draw the line to about there, and then you want to start curving the line up to the corner of the top mouth. So there you go. Then just draw over it a couple times. Go backwards down the line too. Now, it may look pretty thick. It may look like a thick line, but trust me, it'll look fine. So, and that rhymed. So now you just want to fill in any gaps. I might try to find a different marker here because this one is a little bit it's not pointy enough for my liking. So, okay, so I've got a different marker now. Now, all you need to do is just go along to the other side. Make sure it's even. Once you get this part done, the rest is pretty easy. So now you just curve it up. Also, guys, if you get marker on your hands, I do recommend washing it off because marker is not healthy for your hands. I get marker on my hands a lot. So there you go. So now you've got the outline of the mouth. It looks pretty plain right now. But looking at my Molten Freddy, I'm going to do it exactly as I did before. So the top jaw has one tooth coming down straight the middle. So where you put that dot before, you draw one line to that side and one line to that side. Just like that. Just like that. So it looks like he has one big sharp buck tooth in the middle. I would recommend drawing it down now on that exact same line. There you go. So now you've got a pretty outlined tooth. Now I would recommend just keep making lines across. I would recommend doing one side, then the other, one side, then the other, just so that you make sure they're identical and they look the same on each side. So, and then you just keep going until you're out of room. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top jaw and then 4 on the bottom jaw on my other one. So I feel like it's a little too thick. Oh no, I guess I have the same amount. So there we go. Then line there, line there. Now you've got your outline of your teeth. Pretty simple, if I do say so myself. So get your silver Sharpie, and now all you need to do is just color in the teeth. Pretty simple. So my silver Sharpie is running out of ink here, so the teeth might be a little light. But if you buy yours straight from the store and you don't use it for anything else, it should be nice and shiny, and it should look very nice on your Molten Freddy. So let me color it in. There we go. There we go. And it's okay if it smudges over the black. It will not smudge. It just makes it have a little more texture. So I'm going to do these ones again, just because they're a little bit light. There we go. There we go. There we go. Last two teeth. Last one. There we go. So there you go. You have your Molten Freddy's teeth are colored. Mine is a little bit smudgy, but it's only because this is running out of ink. So let me put the cap back on there. You will not need this for the rest of it now. So you've got your Molten Freddy's head. Perfect. Now I'd recommend moving away from the head because you've just did a lot of coloring. You want to let it dry. So let's leave that back there and let's go back to the body. So as I was talking about before, the body is obviously just an entered body. But some things I would recommend to make it look different is I would get your silver Sharpie. I know I said you wouldn't need it, but you don't have to do this step. What I did with mine is I just colored over these little pieces that make it look like more wiring, just so that they don't stand out as much. You don't have to do this, but as you can see on my marker, it doesn't really help, but on my Molten Freddy, they're not very apparent because I colored over them just to make them a little more hidden. Another thing I would recommend doing is get a marker. I'm going to use this one because this one is not out of ink, I don't think. And I would just recommend coloring this in a little bit. It doesn't matter if it's what color it is, as long as it's like black or gray or gold or something. It just kind of makes it fade away, kind of not there. So there you go. Then you want to grab the bow tie that you made before. You want to go ahead, well, you didn't make this, but you got this from Funtime Freddy. You want to put a tiny bit of glue on the back of that bow tie, and then I would recommend just gluing it dead smack in the center of that circle or at the top of it. So that's where I'm going to be gluing mine. So as you can see, that's going to be drying now. The reason I had the black is because I want to show you guys how you guys can make a makeshift bow tie. So say your Funtime Freddy doesn't have a bow tie, or say you want to make one a different color. I'm going to get a piece here of black. So all you need is just a little piece like this. You want to fold it in half. You want to cut a kind of a rectangular shape, kind of like this. So it'll look kind of like that. If you guys want to pause and cut one out like that, just do that. But then all you need to do is you put a tiny dab of glue right in the middle. You fold it, you glue it down, wait for it to dry, and just leave that. As you can see, that looks like a bow tie so far. Then this part might be a little bit hard to do, and you might burn yourself doing it, so I'd recommend having a parent help. Get your piece like this. So cut out a piece of fabric that looks like this shape. It doesn't have to be that long, but I'll explain why it looks like that in a second. So just get that. Put a line of glue, a very thin line. This is very hot glue, so be careful. And then just put it right there. And then fold it over. And then you want to put some glue on the other side. And then fold it over. So there you go. You can cut that excess off. Once that dries, you can kind of pull it, make it same size. Once it dries, you've got a pretty good bow tie. So looks pretty similar. If you wanted to make like a red bow tie or something like that for him, you could do that. So there you go. Extra bow tie. I think I'm going to hold on to that for other customs. So let's clear stuff out of the way. I think most of this is ready. So next thing we're going to want to do with our Molten Freddy head here is detach it for obvious reasons. So we're going to do the same thing we did with our good old entered head over there. We're going to find a spot where the seam is showing. That's what you call the line of thread, is the seam. We're going to find the seam, and then you're going to cut right where it is, and then you're just going to cut it all the way around the head. Once you make one hole, you should be able to see it well. Don't worry what happens to the Funtime Freddy body. You're not going to need it anymore. Unless you want to make something with it, then I guess you want to make sure it's fine. But for me, I don't need another Funtime Freddy body, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to unravel this seam all the way around the edge. So, okay, so we have got our headless Molten Freddy here. Or I guess just bodiless Molten Freddy. So I'm going to pull all the strings out, first of all, just because it looks gross. And then after that, I'm just going to show you guys how you put it on the body, and then we're basically done. So here we've got our Molten Freddy head, and here we've got our Molten Freddy body. So there's two ways you could try to put this on. One, you could put hot glue around the edge of it, and then kind of line it up with the hole. Or you could sew it, which is what I'm going to show you guys how to do. So I recommend using a needle that is about one of these sizes. Not a very big needle, not a very thick needle. I'd recommend a skinny needle because the skinnier it is, the easier it is going to be to thread it and sew it. So, or I guess easier to sew it, maybe not thread it, but one thing I would say, I can't get these needles out of here. One thing I would say, I'm just going to do this. One thing I would say to you guys is if you can't sew or you don't want to sew, just have your parents help you. I'm sure some people's moms will sew with them, or even their dads. I don't know. I don't know who likes to sew. And if no one likes to sew, then just try the hot glue technique. It's much faster, but it won't work as well. So first, I'll show you guys how to thread the needle. And second, I will show you guys how to sew it on and the best way to do it so that it will never come apart. So here is the end of my thread. Before you cut it off, you want to thread it. So let me get my needle here. You want to find the hole first and just put the needle, put the thread through the hole like that. And then you want to grab onto it. And then you want to ravel it out until you get a piece that is about, I would say, almost 2 feet long. So if I move my hand up here, you can see it's very long. Now the way I do it, let me put the camera up. The way I do it is I have the needle double threaded. So I put it over, and then I pull it through so that it's double the friggin' thread. I can't speak. So it's double. So it's not just one piece. You don't tie a piece onto the end. You just do it double. And then you pull it. You keep raveling it. Hold on, guys. Let me just do that. All right, so here is the end. As you can see, it looks like it's 2 pieces, but it's just one. You want to wrap it around your finger. You want to wrap it around your finger loosely, and then push it down your finger. Grab onto that, and then pull it tight, and there you've got yourself a knot that will hold it at the end. So let me get the camera. I'm just using coins here to balance this. Let me get this set up like that. So as you can see here is the end. Then let me go all the way to the other side. Here is the needle. So if you guys need me to do a full video on how you thread it and everything, I will if you guys need it. But for now, I don't think you do. So I'll show you guys where to start. I'd recommend starting in the back. And the way I thread it first is, it doesn't matter if you start on the head or the body. I'm actually going to start on the head here because it seems like it'll be a little bit easier. You want to line up the 2 seams. You want to line up this with the head one. And then you want to put your needle through, pull it. It's a little bit hard to sew on this entered body because of the fabric. And there you go. You've got it attached together. So then you want to just keep going around like this. Put your needle through, pull it. One thing you might want to do is when you pull your needle through like that, you might want to loop it on to the other one. Oh no, the thread is getting stuck. You might want to loop it through like loop-de-loop so that when you get to the bottom, it makes a little knot. And you could do that all the way around if you wanted. I do that sometimes. I knot it all the way through the entire plushie. Or I just keep going around like this. I'm just going to do it the simple way, and I'm just going to keep going around like that. You just want to keep going around the entire plush. That. Thread keeps getting stuck to these. Alright everyone, so my needle, as you can see, is back where I started, where I put the first knot. So I'm going to show you guys how you finish sewing so that it doesn't come apart. So first you need to find where the knot is. It's here. So you just want to stick your needle through there, and you want to put it through the same place that it's in right now, which is about right here. You see it's coming out the same spot. So you want to put it through. You want to put it through the loop. Then you want to tie a knot. You want to do this a couple times. It might get a little bit hard to push it through the same knot, but that's what makes it stable. So you want to push it through. I'm not going to do the knot this time, and it's getting very hard for me to pull it through, so I'm going to use my scissors here to kind of help it through. So there we go. Now I can just grab onto it. You can see the needle gets stuck because it's so tight. So there, now you can cut the thread, and you've got the head attached. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to cut off all these little extra pieces. string that we do not need on there now because these are all sealed up, all these spots. So now I can just cut the end, cut that off, cut these off. Since this is I kind of messed up on a little bit of the stitching here. His head's a little bit tilted to the side, but it still looks nice. Since I messed up on a little bit of the stitching, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick some glue right near the arm there. And then I'm going to put a line of glue along the back of the head. Just like that. I'm going to blow on it. That'll make it glue on there. And just in case I messed up some of the stitching, it'll still glue it. But it's going to be very stable now. You can sit him down. He looks pretty happy. Got your Molten Freddy plush here. Looks nice. One more thing that we should add. Let me put him in the back. He'll sit there next to his brother. One more thing I was saying we should add is the eyes. So as we all know, Molten Freddy and / Ennard has eyes all over his body, but the Funko Ennard plush does not have eyes. So I'm going to do the common decency here, and I'm going to add the eyes. So first you want to get a little hole, and you want to just do little snips around the eyes, because I'm going to keep this Ennard head just in case I need it for dingling. But you guys, I don't know how much you guys care about your extra Ennard heads, so you guys can be as messy with this as you want. But I'm going to try to make a little tiny slit, just that I don't make a humongous hole around the eye. And then you just want to cut it all the way out, and I'll show you guys what to do after that. So let me get this Ennard eye cut out. Once you get to about here, you can stick the scissors under, and you can do it like that. And then you can do it here as well, once you have a big enough place to cut. And then the last way around, you can do it like that too. So here you've got one eye out. You want to just go ahead and get all the white off around the eye, as much of it as you can get. It's okay if there's a little border of it, but it doesn't look good if there's a ton. So let's get all of it off as much as we can. There we go. And there you go. So this eye looks pretty good. Most of the white is off it. I can't get the rest of it off, otherwise it'll start coming apart. So I'm going to set this up exactly how I did with my Molten Freddy. Let's put some glue in the back there. Get your Molten Freddy plush. Lift his arm up. Put one eye here. This is where I put one eye. Oh, my hand is getting stuck to the glue on the back here. Don't want that to come apart. So you got one eye there. And then I'm going to do the same with the other eye real fast. I'll get back to you guys. There we've got the second eye. Go ahead, cut all that out. All the white. So I'm going to do that just there. I think that looks pretty good. Stick some glue in the back. And then I'm going to stick the eye on the exact same spot that I did with my other one. So there you have it, guys. I think he's done. One more thing. I think we could add one more thing. All you're going to need for this is just a little piece of, let's use orange here. So you want to get that. You're going to want to get your, you could use this color. You just want to just draw on it. Just draw, okay? I'll explain why in a second. So just want to do that. Get a lot of the ink on there. A lot of it. You want to get some black too, because that'll make it darker. Get some black. And then you just want to grab him. You just want to dab some of it on his face. As you can see, it makes a little bit of gray on his face, just so he looks a little more withered. Like that. You can even brush it on. I'm just going to put some around the back of the head too. It doesn't add very much, but it just makes him look a little bit more withered. So I think he's about done now, guys. Now we've got our Molten Freddy. I've got two Molten Freddys here. If you guys want to make your own and you use my tutorial, just show me in the comments, or I guess link your video, or show a video of it, or post it on the Froakie Amino. Because this is, I think this is probably the easiest way to do it. Some people like their Molten Freddys without legs, but you know what? I think it looks good with legs. So this is how I make Molten Freddy, Morty. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching.